got a bad double chin. Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Hannah Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our fabulous guest today is
Joanne Anderson.
Thank you, Joanne, for giving us your time tonight. We know you're super busy, but we're delighted to have you as a guest. And Sandra's wanted you as a guest for a long, long time. So,
2 years or 3. Yeah,
it's a massive win for Sandra, this one. So,
thanks for having me.
So, thank you. So we do start the show with a shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things. Am I going first, San, or are you?
I'll go first this week. Okay,
You're going to say the same as me.
Shout out. So I did an hour and a half. That was it. Voluntary work, fitted it in my day on Friday. And you spend an hour and a half out your whole week doing things. And that hour and a half was my most memorable. And every year I say the same thing. I did an hour and a half voluntary work with an hour for others in sort of Tubrook, West Derby, where it is, where they're located. And they had all young people there in the holiday. And it was the last day of their little summer school. And we did Spanish activities. We made like paper fortune tellers. I had them up running around and doing different things. And they were just lovely. They were really lovely. And when we did the fortune tellers, so the kids, they did their numbers and colours in Spanish, and then they had things to write underneath. And this child said to me, how do I write this? And they were all positive things. And they wanted me to write the English things in Spanish, and they copied them. And his message was, you will get through life.
Oh, bloody hell.
I know. And he was like,
cry?
no, I just wrote it in Spanish for him. But every single time I do something with that charity, there's a child who says something and you're just like, oh my God, it's just really poignant. The work they do with the kids, you know, Susie, Kane and everybody who was there, Toddy and everything, they were just a great, great group of people. So that was fabulous. So shout out to all the kids who were just great.
Amazing, boss. I'm going to shout out to all of they're young, but they're big young. All of the young people who got their A-level results last week. So massive shout out to all of you. You've all put the work in. If you've got the results and you can go and do what you want, great. If you haven't, it doesn't define you. You can still go on to do absolutely great things. So my shout outs to all of the A-level students. And also I was delighted to I do a little bit of half fund, you know, working with the community who deliver the half funding, and a massive shout out to the Salvation Army kids. And there's a little girl called Daniela, and last year she had her little head down, she didn't speak. And this year she was like me busy ever, so she run over, give me a love. She was holding me hand. She's just I just think she goes to church in there as well. But I just think the difference in that little person in a year is unbelievable, and they've got gorgeous little people in there. So big shout out to all the little people there and everyone who's accessed the half funded program. It's just amazing for what all the community providers are doing. So shout out to all the kids who've accessed that service. What about you, Joe? Have you got any little people you want to shout out to?
So I did have someone who's a bit older, but I've got a school by me, Smithtown Primary School, and I had to go in and do a talk for them while I was there last year or the year before, and how passionate they were about climate change, and they've done a campaign around palm oil. And also, there's a school, it's by the Aldi in Smithtown. I can't remember the name of it, but they've done a fantastic piece of work around picking up litter and, you know, tackling sort of awareness around climate change and getting the parents to switch light switches off and conserving energy and stuff like that. So I think the kids give me hope around the world's been on fire, hasn't it, during the summer, you know, in terms of Europe and some of the places, you know, look what happens in Hawaii, you know, it's absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? But when I hear the kids talking how passionate they are, they give me a lot of hope. The older person I wanted to mention, she's little compared to me, probably half my age, but I had a girl I used to mentor called Gemma Sparks, and she works in Market Liverpool, and she moved to Liverpool from Belfast. She's a mixed race girl who brought up in Belfast, but she's come to Liverpool and just really made a name for herself. Not only just, you know, studied, got herself a job she wanted, getting herself networked. She collects, you know, these high-powered women as mentors, and I think she's just been recognised by Northern Power Women. But I'm really impressed with Gemma. She pushes herself really hard, and she makes sure she does things that scare her, and it shows in her success.
Oh, well done, Gem.
Good.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that, boss. Success this week for you personally. Sam, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, I've got two.
Go on.
On Saturday, I was a tourist in our city again.
Oh, brilliant.
And we went to see the Minton Tiles in St. George's Hall. And it is phenomenal. And I think it's out every year now. It finished on Saturday, but if you get the chance next year, definitely go and see it. It's just beautiful. It's just, and you know, it was a £5 to get in, so it's just, you know, just amazing. So 100%. And then we went over to the library and had a coffee in the library, and you know, the library's beautiful, isn't it? But you forget how lucky you are to have all these things on our doorstep. So we had a little coffee in the library, and then my second shout out, my second success is Blue Peter have got a new badge out. Okay, and it's the sports badge. So Leah Williamson, who's one of our lionesses, she's designed this badge, and you have to try a new sport to get the badge. So we've got whack-a-ball, which is a new UK urban racket sport. So I thought, I'm going to write to Blue Peter and ask them, does whack-a-ball qualify? So I emailed Blue Peter, and the next day, Blue Peter replied to me and said, yes, whack-a-ball is okay. So you've got to be between 5 and 15, play the sport, do a little video or a photograph, make something, answer some questions. So I'm looking for any little people who, I wanted a Blue Peter badge myself, but unfortunately I'm not, I'm out of the age bracket now. But if any little people want to get a Blue Peter badge, I'm going to help you get one.
Brilliant.
So there, Mike. So what about you, Joe? What's your success this week?
So I just got a piece of work, 40 days of work between now and Christmas. And it sounds dead hard, but actually it's easier than it sounds. We've got a 6.5 million social investment pot in Liverpool to support the growth of social businesses, and they're businesses who not just only have an economic impact in terms of, you know, giving people jobs and doing good things in communities, but a social impact where they might take on people who were long-term unemployed, or they might be targeting a particular group to support them. So my piece of work is to try and make that £6.5 million pot 50 million. And it's only 40 days between now and Christmas. Now, it sounds much harder than what it is. Social investors get money from the government from dormant assets. So there's lots of social investors who have to sell their money as products. So it's a little bit easier that people are looking to sell their money products, if you know what I mean. They're looking to invest money that gets a return. And so it should be easier than it sounds. But still, I'm delighted to get the work. 40 days worth of work is a pretty hefty contract to have as consultant. But also, I'm kind of getting on my own nerves around how much I love it, how passionate I am. You know, when you say sometimes when you're being interviewed for a job, so I was interviewed a couple of days ago. I know I was interviewed yesterday, but you know, when you say I can hit the ground running, well, I was more like a racehorse trying to go out the track, you know, that hit the ground running, that I've surpassed that a long time ago. So, yeah, I'm really excited to crack on with that. I think it'll be a week or so before I can get started, but really delighted that, you know, I won that piece of work. It's always really hard doing tenders for work and then getting interviewed. It's like constantly going for a new job. That's what it kind of feels like.
Do you know what, Joanne? You've got the credentials, my God. You know, you really have. Fantastic.
Brilliant. That's a great success. And a success for our city as well. Stan, what's your success this week?
Well, not like Joanne with a 40-day contract about etc. Change the. I've got a 7-foot tall sunflower, which is brilliant. And it's rocketed up. It's literally gone in about 2 weeks. From there to there, it's absolutely rocketed. And I've got another one that's much smaller, but they look dead cute. And you know, I've got it's just like a yard wall at the end, and they look lovely in that. And I've just made it. You plant them, forget about them, and it's and they just grow and they look dead cool. So I'm delighted with that. I've had a few successes, but that's my favourite one because I can look out the window and see. So
Brilliant. They're my favourite flowers ever. Sunflowers.
Yeah.
Right.
So John Howie says, "Good evening, folks. Good evening to John Howie."
Hi, John.
And Ronan's got a question, but I'm going to ask you that question or Sandra can ask when we introduce you.
Yeah, definitely. You can ask because it's quite a long one. Okay.
But first, we're going to play this or that. Sandra, are you going first or am I going first?
I'll go first then. Okay, I'm going first today, zipping straight in there.
One then.
We're sponsored this month for August by Corporate Connections, which is a networking organisation, quite a high-level networking organisation. So you've done a lot in business and you're in business now and you've met lots of different people, Joanne. Would you rather network in a very casual environment where you just speak to people, or a very structured environment with timings where each people speak and go around the room?
I don't like networking, I'll be honest. You know, I'm an ambivert. So whilst I can be extrovert, I find talking to lots of people exhausting and need to switch off. So I prefer not to do any of it. But if it was to do it, to be most efficient, I'd prefer to do it like speed dating, where you just have a couple of minutes and move on.
Yeah. Me too. Where everyone gets to speak.
Yeah.
And it's not just like that. What about you, Helen?
Structured. I think we're all like pretty structured, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. Go on, Hel.
Okay. Again, sponsored by Corporate Connection, so it's a little bit themed about connecting with people. Okay. When you connect with somebody, do you prefer a business card, like a physical business card, or a digital one? You know, where somebody says, "Oh, here's my phone," bink, and all the details go straight into your phone. So do you prefer it to go straight into your phone, digital, or do you prefer a proper paper business card or business card? Sandra first.
So I like the idea of the business card, but you know, when you do that, it's actually lost forever. You think it's in your phone. I've got that many contacts. Who was that person? I don't know. When I've got a card, I think, oh yeah, that's what they do. I remember that. And people have certain colours and brands and that stands out, hopefully, and it helps you remember them. So I'm afraid I'm a bit old-fashioned with the paper. Or if I do that, I'd take the paper as well, because I wouldn't know who they were in my phone, and then I'd be thinking, who's that?
Yeah.
So
what about you, John?
So I'm the same. I've never found someone's contact again on my phone, whereas a business card, I've gone and found the person and I've remembered it. Might not remember the detail of the business cards, but actually I prefer LinkedIn. I prefer getting in touch with everyone through LinkedIn because I can remember through that. Now, someone showed me something once, and for the life of me, I can't find how to do it again. How you tap something and you can connect with everyone in the room is on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it though.
That. I remember somebody showing me how to do that as well.
I can't work it out again. I've tried a few times, but I must try and work out how to do that because it would just save so much time.
Yeah, if anyone's listening from the women's org, because I think it happened to me when I was in the women's org. If anyone happened, just give us a little message of how we do it.
I think it was Leon from Dojo Sales. It was at an event at the women org, a marketing event. Were you on the same course, Helen? It was like a one-day course.
I don't know. I don't think so. But Leon's being a guest on this show.
You know, Leon. Yeah.
So Leon, if you're listening, get on and show us how we press that thing on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, Sam, you'll go.
Okay, Joanne, would you rather go to the theatre or to the cinema?
Well, I love the cinema. I used to get kind of tortured as a kid going to the theatre. My mum was ever so cultural. And my birthday was in January, so I had to go to pantomime every year. I hated it. And then my mum loved like the ballets and the Nutcracker, and so I used to feel tortured because I was made to go. Whereas I know, poor child being tortured to go to the theatre. But I do enjoy a good performance. But the cinema's a treat, isn't it? I love going to the cinema. There's some great cinemas in Liverpool now as well.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, theatre for me, son.
Yeah, theatre for me too, because I didn't have the torture. So, but my mum's dead funny, I feel my mum go, Mum, do you want to sit? And she goes, no, thanks, I'll leave that. So she's like you in that respect. Okay. But I love, we'll go to the theatre or anything. If Helen and I get off a ticket sometimes, or someone says, we'll go to anything, if it's in the afternoon, can we go? Yeah, great. So it's really cool, yeah. Brilliant.
Okay.
Go on, Hel.
I'm going to ask you, Joanne, first.
Yeah.
Would you rather go to the opening ceremony of an event or the closing ceremony? So like in the Olympics or the Football World Cup that we've just had, would you rather go to the opening or the closing of an event?
Neither, I'm just not into them sort of things. Yeah. And I have obviously been to great, matches, games, events that I've gone to. But if it's a night on the couch, either reading a book or watching the telly or having a dinner with mates, that's me. Going to big shows with big crowds and lots of people, I'm just not into it. I'll do it and I'll do it for work, but you couldn't, I wouldn't thank you for going.
Not choice. What about you, Sam?
I'd go to the opening event because they tend to put more effort into that. Plus, the closing event's dead sad. It's like finished, and when I'm sitting there watching it, going, "Oh, it's sad. Oh, was it worth spending millions of pounds or whatever?" And I go through have a little crisis over it. No. You think of the Olympics we had in our country, the opening ceremony was just something else, wasn't it? So the opening ceremony, hands down.
Yeah, the anticipation of an opening ceremony, and it is on my bucket list. So if anybody wants to give me an Olympic ticket for the opening event, I'll go anywhere.
Okay, Joanne, you're probably sick of going to events. That's probably what it is.
No, do you know what? I'm, as I say, I am ambivert, and people don't recognise it of me because I'm dead extrovert and I can speak on stage and stuff. But given the choice, I just want to be. I love my own company. Want to be by myself, and I'm a bit of a home bird.
Lovely.
Yeah, brilliant.
Go on, Stan, your last one, quick.
Okay, last one. Would you rather have chicken in a basket or go for a really haute cuisine meal, a luxury dining experience?
I'm either there, and I'm sure Paul from the art school would be fuming that I'd say chicken in a basket as well. But I get equal satisfaction from whether it's a gourmet meal or whether it's chicken in a basket. I get equal satisfaction from a meal that's been poured over for hours and hours. Same as something quick and tasty like chicken in a basket.
Yeah.
Okay, Hel?
I'm not a lover of fancy foods, little bitty things type thing. So I'd probably go for chicken in a basket. What about you, Sam?
I'd go for the fine dining, hands
We know that. We knew that before you even spoke.
I did have, I asked at the art school, the Drink Liverpool, no, not Drink Liverpool, Eat Liverpool, Drink Bordeaux festival was fantastic, but I had Paul's food from the art school for lunch and dinner on 2 days, consecutive days on the run. It was all beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. But again, I felt like it was wasted on me a little bit, like fine dining. It was beautiful, but four meals in the space of 2 days was probably a lot.
Quite rich, probably. Yeah, it's an occasion, isn't it? Yeah. So,
okay. My last one.
Okay.
I'm really going to put you on the spot, Joe. The Town Hall or St. George's Hall?
Oh. I've just been in town. St. George's Hall is really special, isn't it? When the Eurovision filming and just looked absolutely amazing. And I think what would put me off George's Hall, I went upstairs during some of the celebrations around Eurovision, and I seen the cells and stuff, and my nerves went. I just would not like to be. And don't get me wrong, it's all disused and nothing's going on there, but I'd never been up the stairs, and actually terrified the frigging life out of me. So if I had to get locked in at night, I think I prefer the Town Hall, but St. George's Hall is amazing.
Yeah, that is a good point.
What about you, Sam?
So I love the Town Hall. I think it's very beautiful building. But for me, St. George's Hall is lovely because I actually love the concert room at the side. That I think's really nice. That's something very special. And I think we're very lucky to have the building here. So
yeah, I'm going to say St. George's Hall. All the statues. We were wondering, is it like night at the museum? Do they all wake up of a night and have a little chat with each other?
It's just show.
It's not. Over to you, Sam, to introduce our guest tonight.
Yes, absolutely delighted because I wanted Joanne Anderson on for a very, very long time because all the cool, brilliant stuff she's done. And you know, we spoke a while ago and you said you had Eurovision coming up, and obviously get that out of the way because that was just the most full-on thing ever. So we waited a bit and now you were free. So thank you so much indeed for coming on. Such an accomplished person. Again, went to my school when we were all very naughty there. Oh, we had Irene Apple on the other week who loved school, who loved that school, by the way, and said it was fantastic. And I was going, really? So that was dead funny. So I'm just so delighted, and we'd love you to talk about yourself, your journey, how you got to do what you do, the experience you've had, and what you're doing at the moment, and where you're going forward with everything. So welcome.
Okay, thanks, Sandra. I forgot about that. Nearly everyone's been to Notre Dame and Walton or St. Julie's. Off the council, we went to Notre Dame and St. Julie's. And Katrina who's just won, she went to St. Julie's, didn't she?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was in the same class as the other one.
Sorry.
She was in the same class as
Josie Coma. Yeah. I couldn't stand it though. I'm with you, Sandra. I didn't love my experience in that school. I don't know where to start. I think, you know, people place a lot on, you know, me being the mayor, and it felt very much by accident. Well, I didn't anticipate going. I had no ambition. I've got no political ambitions at all, but I have always had political opportunity. So in the trade union, when I was in my early 20s and I was very active, they were trying to push me down that route of local councillor and being on track to be an MP, and I completely rejected it. That wasn't what I wanted to do. And I don't see myself as a politician, and now that it's over, I particularly don't see myself as a politician. But I never felt, I really reject this idea of imposter syndrome. I never felt that it wasn't for me, even though it happened to me by accident and it wasn't on my radar to do something like this. You know, we all know the situation in Liverpool, you know, the previous mayor being arrested and that the Labour Party was up in arms a little bit. And I knew what it would entail. I knew I was getting no backup or support from other Labour politicians. I knew the trade unions weren't behind me. I knew that what I was walking into, that apart from the circle of people I had behind me, I would be very much alone in doing that. And I knew I was doing it for a short amount of time. At first, I felt like kind of cheated that I was only going to get 2 years instead of 4. But I think about 18 months in, I remember thinking to myself, God, I'm lucky that I don't have to do 4 years.
I only got 6 months left.
Yeah, I've only got 6 months left. I don't have to do 4 years. But obviously, you know, what's wonderful about the job, and 75% of the job is wonderful, is being able to put the things I value and the things I understand about Liverpool at the forefront of sort of my decision making and stuff. You know, Liverpool was in a big mess. We all know that. Just trying to get back on track in a very basic way was necessary. You know, some of the allegations around people, I can't stand Liverpool being stereotyped, and I can't stand being stereotyped as a Scouser. So I went for the position because I wanted to try and deal with some of those stereotypes. And, you know, to a large part of that, I've been successful, which I'm really happy about. So I remember at Labour Party conference last year, I recognised him from his cartoon picture in The Guardian. I think his name's Hugh Muir. But he said to me, how's Liverpool doing? I said, well, you know, don't you know how's Liverpool doing? And he said, well, the truth is, since you've been in, we don't have to watch it in the same way. And that was a kind of win for me, you know, like we trust that she's not up to no good and all that kind of stuff. You know, that kind of was really important to me, that we had that impact. And then I spoke to the guy who's the company who's just bought the Royal Albert Dock. You know, they've bought all the ground floor shops. And they were saying like 5 years ago we wouldn't have touched Liverpool, and now they're on, you know, a big developer coming in. So I am delighted that I have been able to have that impact. You know, that has made it all worthwhile for me. I wanted to, you know, sort of stop the narrative around, you know, the arrest of the mayor and stuff. And do you know what? When I look back now on reflection, property development around the country, 30% of it is made through money laundering and everything else. But Liverpool kind of got labelled as the only place it happens, and that's just not true, and obviously that's all allegations. But also, some of the stuff that goes on around the country, like there was a council down south that ended up giving 130 million away to some like dodgy fella. And, they've got commissioners in, but not quite in the same way. Other areas have. So it's been very political putting commissioners into Liverpool. Another reason why I stood up for it, it needed to not, people need to not be macho with the commissioners. I'll be seen to be fighting the commission every time. I needed that to be, we needed to have a better relationship with government. And much as, we're a very Labour city and all that kind of stuff, we have got a better relationship with government. It just shows you through Eurovision, but also some other things that the government has supported on, much as like, I'm definitely not changing my opinion about our government, but still, we needed to not be so combative and fighting with them all the time. We needed to get in a better place. So when I look back, and, some politicians have tried to write me out of history, like, for example, the decision for Eurovision is mine. I had men around me slapping themselves on the back for that decision, and it was my decision. Now, the consequence of that, because I am the first woman to be directly elected in Liverpool, the consequence of that is I was getting written out of history. And, so in terms of sort of dealing with kind of the misogyny in politics and sexism and the racism, that's really quite, takes a toll on you as an individual. So some of the things I'm really proud of, other people have taken credit for. Well, men have taken credit for, not other people. So they're the kinds of frustrations that you kind of have. But as people talk to me about some of, like, politics is a wheel that goes on and on and on. As people talk to me now, I'm just like, not my monkey, not my circus, not my problems. Like, I'm just delighted to get back to life. Free, absolutely free.
Yeah, but Joanne, you did so much for the city.
I mean, it's so much in a short space of time, but I have got a little bit of PTSD. I'm laughing with my mates the other day. So when I'm in the role, just get on with it, and as I say, 75% of the job is lovely, but I didn't get much support from other, factions that make up politics. And so it was a tough job. But I must be out PTSD because some of the dresses I've got, I can't put them on. I go, oh no, I'm not wearing that. I can't go into that persona as me, even though I'm kind of myself in most situations. The fact I can't put them clothes on means that I need to reject that kind of part of my life. But still, I do think it's been, there's been a personal cost to it. Of course there is, it's a hard job. And so I feel lucky to come out the other side, that I've managed to have a good impact. I've managed to implement some of the things that are really important to me. Sandra, you mentioned before the triple lock, decision making around equality, social impact and environmental impact. Now the city region has taken that on. So I've had an impact beyond, left a legacy. To go out on the high, what was Eurovision? That was the best decision I ever made. It was, we were facing a 79 million pound budget gap at the time. The commissioners weren't happy about it because why would they be? We didn't have much money to throw in. We only could throw in 2 million, and that was the whole culture budget. We're looking at cuts of 79 million. So we just redirected all the money to do that. So we didn't even think we'd get in with just 2 million, in terms of our contribution. So that 2 million and managed to pull in another 18 million. So, that become 20 million that was spent on programming.
Yeah.
I think we estimate something like 40 million, don't they, the economic impact of, the hotels and everything else. So it just showed you. I remember when I was making that decision, obviously I talked to the cabinet and other people, and we got support from, the city region, from the big company, lots of people supported us. But I remember thinking, if we don't go for this, then everything's just bad, Everything, it was cost of living crisis. Everything was just really harsh. So I'm proud of that decision. I'm proud of the impact that it's had.
And it's the best thing that's ever happened in the history. I'm a mentalist over Eurovision. I was 8 years old, and I played it with learning languages. I just absolutely loved it. And I kept thinking, oh, I wasn't going to go. And I said to Helen, I've accepted. The week before, I thought, oh, you're not actually going to go. And everyone was saying, why don't you volunteer? And I was going, no, because I want to watch the show. And they were all thinking, and I know a person who had bought tickets and he didn't want to go with his partner. And he said, oh, you can have the semi. And I was going, you're joking. Oh my God, thank you so much for the semi-final that with the live one. And then the day later, I won one. And I thought it was a hoax. I thought, oh, hang on, from the National Lottery. And I just, I thought, you've done 10 competitions for it. And I took Helen. I said, do you want to come? And I was going to take my son, and he was like, oh no, I don't like crowds really. And I was like, okay. So I took Helen, but I didn't realise we had hospitality. And we said, let's go hospitality. I was going, we've got hospitality. Oh my God. And then another friend who I know, a contact here, some work for Capitol Records. So we actually went to the after party all night.
Wow.
We came out at 5:30 in the morning.
Go away.
And it was the best. And I don't think I'd done that for 30 years. It was just, it's the best night out I've had in my whole life. It was just amazing.
But it was the city, wasn't it? We were saying it just brought glitter and sparkle to the city.
Well, I hadn't watched it since, sorry, Helen. Go on.
No, go on.
I haven't watched it since Bucks Fizz were on, so I hadn't watched it since 1981. And I'm not, I'm not a Eurovision.
Thank you, Sandra.
So when I remember saying to Claire Mack, I'd had an operation, and all Claire Mack was saying to me, Claire McColgan from done a wonderful, amazing job, and that's the reason why we've been able to do Eurovision in relationship with government, what they've done, during COVID with government, during lockdown and everything, made a big impact. But I remember saying to Claire, she kept saying, you've got to be better by the handover with the Mayor of Turin. Right. She was like, if you're not, I'm putting you in a wheelchair and taking you. And then she started saying, Mummy dearest, and my nerves were gone. So even I was saying to the doctor, will I be all right? Will I be able to walk by the handover with the Mayor of Turin? Because all I had visions of was Claire. I love Claire, but I wouldn't want to push me around in a wheelchair. I kept saying to her, I don't know anything about this, Claire. Usually when you get briefed on things. I was like, Claire, you're all just assuming I know. I don't know anything about it. She went, it's all about you. She went, you do quality and thingy. You'll love it. Anyway, I put the previous year on the telly in Turin, and I thought, oh, this is mental. This is right up our streets. And I loved how wacky it was and what a celebration it was of, the differences in a healthy, competitive way. So sorry to say, Helen, that really, when that happens, when I looked at the year before in Turin, and I just thought, oh, Liverpool is best place for this.
It was the best. But also because we did it for the Ukraine as well. We hosted it for Kyiv. And the girl I went with actually has lived here for years. When I went to that semi-final, so I got to go to two events. She is Ukrainian and she works for a pharma company in Manchester somewhere. And she's lived here for years before all of this. And she had a child here. And she was in tears. She was going, it's like I've been in my country. Then when we went to the ACC, just by chance, the food stand we went to had all Ukrainian food. She was like, oh my God. And it was quite reasonably priced. She was just over the moon. And she just said, oh, in Liverpool, they're doing everything for the people here. And she really felt the difference she noticed, And I just think I felt we were worthy hosts. We
were best placed to do that. We were best placed to do that. And I've always said, and I said from the beginning, being mayor, we're good at two things: sticking up for people like social justice and throwing a party. So it was perfect in terms of that way. And when I seen the work that Claire and the culture team done was phenomenal. And we ended up with 24. I think there was 24 cultural commissions, and 19 of them were in partnership with Ukrainians. And when you seen the big Nightingales, for example, everyone was taking the mic and going, "What's a big blow up chicken doing outside Q&R and stuff?" But when you think about the significance of a birds, and if you were at war, and then you think, and then the other thing I didn't kind of realise, obviously when people are at war, the culture and identity gets attacked. So being able to bring the culture to the UK, to Liverpool, and create that celebration of it, but also that awareness with everybody else. That was, I could tell out, all the Ukrainians I come across were just delighted with how special it was. Definitely. They were absolutely amazing.
Leon's put, Sandra chosen specialist subject Eurovision because he was trying to get me a ticket. He was going, "Have you got a ticket?" Everyone say to Helen, "Has she got a ticket? Has she got a ticket?"
The whole of Liverpool was praying for Sandra to get a ticket for Eurovision.
We had Angie Redhead on as well a while back from St John's.
She was great, wasn't she?
About it, she was fantastic as well. So
she's great. She's very capable, Angie. She's really good.
She was great.
Really good.
Had a great laugh with her as well. She's good fun.
Yeah, we went live from St George's Hall when we did the show with Angie. So that was nice.
Okay.
So Ronan asked a question before you come on, and he says, "What was the best experience you've ever had doing something on behalf of the city?"
That's a good question.
I know, yeah, but certainly, trying to think. Do you know what? We went to Nashville. We've done this mental health project, Road to Nashville, happened during lockdown. And all the artists, obviously, a lot of people were impacted by lockdown. But if you're a performer and not being able to perform around people, that impact was huge. And so lots of artists were suffering with the mental health. This was before my time. Kevin McManus and a guy called Sham, who's a psychologist, done this Road to Nashville competition between Liverpool and Nashville, but everyone got access to psychotherapy sessions.
Yeah.
And I got to go out to Nashville to do a memorandum of understanding with the city. And you think of Nashville as a music city.
Yeah.
That's it is called a music city. It was Queen Elizabeth, that's why it's called that. We have UNESCO World Heritage status and music status, and Nashville don't. And so kind of appreciating what a music city Liverpool is. And I've got to say, you get shot down for saying this, don't you? I've never been a big fan of the Beatles. Obviously, I know the words to every bloody song, and as you do growing up in Liverpool. But the importance of the Beatles, and I think Eurovision was in the pipeline then. We were going for it and stuff like that. I was in this room in Nashville with the ambassador to the UK, who was a guy from New York, actually, and congressman and council. I don't know what they're called in America, but councillors, the equivalent to councillors, and then these musicians and artists and some people from the UK and stuff like that. Anyway, this song was getting played by this famous country and western singer. We all started crying. It was such a touching moment. And I'm not an overly emotional person, so the fact that there was a collective, all the Liverpool people looking at each other like that, it was just so special, and to be able to do that as I met the first black congressman or councilman. He took me around Nashville the next day and stuff, and he was talking about how he was interested in all the things that I was, like social impact, but when he'd started 20 years ago, it wasn't kind of in vogue then in the way it is now about caring for others and stuff. So that was lovely to be able to represent the city, and I'm the first black woman to be directly elected in a core city in the whole of Europe. And so going to places like that and being an ambassador for Liverpool, being a 6-foot black woman with a big Scouse accent, I love being able to be that ambassador for Liverpool. I really enjoyed that. But that was really it's not the only special moments. I've had loads, but that was really special, especially the way we all started whinging.
Definitely. So we've had a little talk about what's happened and that you were the mayor and things, but you're much more than that. So you've left that and you're moving on. And you've spoke quite a lot about social impact. So for people who don't understand what social impact is, I'd like you to explain to people what you're doing now and what social impact is and how people can get involved with and support you in your new venture outside of being the mayor.
So I've grown up where my mum ran the Citizens Advice Bureau on our estate. So everyone went to her with the problems, and everybody had money problems, with support estates. And people were going to loan sharks. And you remember the Provident, I think it's about 4 million %, isn't it, that you pay back or something ridiculous. So my mum set up the first credit union in Liverpool, and that was to help people to get into saving and things like that. And then my auntie had the mobile shop on our estate. My other auntie had a sweet shop in the Bellevale shopping centre. And so my auntie who had the mobile shop, and my mum used to go mad at this. She'd let people buy whatever they wanted with milk tokens. So she'd let them buy bread, milk, ciggies. My mum used to go mad that she'd let people buy ciggies, go ballistic with milk tokens. But you could go to our Angie and, if you weren't getting paid till 3 weeks' time, she'd help you out. Do you know what I mean? It was just, so my family very much were very community oriented, but also ran businesses. And I know a credit union feels, it's a charitable thing and it's not for profit, but it's a business, same way the mobile shop was. So I've grown up with, being around that enterprise and sort of sides of things, but always having a heart and looking after people. So when social enterprise kicked off, I set up the first Black social enterprise in Liverpool called Innovision years ago, doing consultancy. And it was it was a moment in Liverpool where we were, as far as the UK goes, we were quite dominant in lots of social enterprise. And I think that comes from us being poor in Liverpool. There's community organisation. If you've got a need, there's a community organisation that's there to help you out. And it's just the way we are. And I think that comes from poverty sometimes. People who haven't got nothing, they'll share with anyone. So I've always sort of had that background. So I sat on the boards of Furniture Resource Centre, that's a big social enterprise, and Blackburn House. If you look at Furniture Resource Centre, for a start, so that started off as a charity that just donated, bits of furniture and passed it on, to people who were in need. And that become very business focused in terms of Bulky Bob's come out of that, collecting furniture. The whole point was to recycle and repurpose it. So strip it down, do it up, make it better, and give it to people who are in need. And they've got a whole campaign around furniture poverty, knowing that if you've got when you haven't got any money, if a washing machine breaks down, that can tip you into poverty because you haven't got the money to buy it, or you end up, remember Crazy George in the past, another 300% interest. So I've coached people who've been really, they've had nowhere to turn. And I've helped them and worked with them. And so some of the services like Liverpool City Council do, it's called, oh God, I can't remember what it's called. I'll come back to it. But you can get referred, and they will give you, an energy voucher. They'll give you £25 cash. They'll give you food tokens, get you over the weekends. And if you need a washing machine or you need furniture, they'll give you a referral to Furniture Resource Centre as well. Now I've seen that change people's lives, and just that old mentality of going, the local authority and the community is helping me out, is doing something. Now I remember this one guy who lived without a washing machine for ages. And when gas and lecky runs out, if you're on a meter, that meter takes money off you when you try to. So he could never get ahead to get himself off bath and things like that, because the meter would just eat up the money. Anyway, when Elton got a washing machine and access to that service, but remember coming, he says, I've washed everything in the house. He was like, I've washed the curtains, I've washed so those organisations, that Furniture Resource Centre and Bulky Bob's, are businesses that make money. But those organisations also have that fantastic impact on helping people in poverty. But they also train people who perhaps wouldn't have a career otherwise, and help people who've been long-term unemployed. So all social businesses do really, social trading organisations, is they run as a business, they make money, but that money goes back into that company and they do good. They have a good social impact on people. And it's not always, if you look at Home Baked, they make great pies. Pies from home makes beautiful. Scouse pies, marvellous. Now, some people are buying them pies. They don't care that Home Baked employ unemployed, people who've been homeless, or, people who are on the, the edges of society, and they help them be included. They don't know about that. They're just buying a pie. But for some people, I'm eating the pie and I'm also feeling good that I'm helping out an organisation that's helping others. So socially trading organisations are ones that make a good economic impact and social impact. And I want to get as much money as possible into the region, because we're good at this. We do it really well. And from the social trading organisations perspective, I also set up Black Socially Traders Network. We don't know how to grow businesses. I remember when I was at Innovision and I got offered a 10 grand investment, but I had to take a bank loan with it. And people like me don't get loans from the bank, especially from a business perspective. And I didn't want that responsibility that if something went wrong, my trustees would be accountable to this bank loan and investment that I had. So I rejected, so we're risk averse in terms of taking risks to grow the business, because society shows us that's not really, that's not really your place. So I'm in the middle of me masters in business scale up. I had to put it on hold while I was there, but supporting those social trading organisations to get bigger, not just with the finance to do it, but with also the support from peers and people like them who know what they're doing. I couldn't be more excited of being involved in this. It's just
That's
fantastic
amazing
work. Yeah.
It's your passion. It's your absolute passion. And I know when you spoke and you said before, because that was one of the things you made a big speech and everything about before Eurovision and the ACC and it was coming. And I attended, and then what I took, and it was the triple lock, and that's what I took from that, and it stayed with me. And it's interesting because Helen and I, we like to get, this is what this platform's about. So we have a lot of charities on here, or we have business people and people who are doing a lot of good in the area, and it's giving a voice for that. So like we had the what's the coffee people we had on Paper Cup,
the Paper Cup coffee,
and there's loads of things like that in our city. And, as an area, we tend to favour independence anyway and try and support each other and help each other and do good. And it gets me that some people don't think like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just obvious, isn't it? If we all help each other, everywhere grows and does better. Leon's put a giant
Sandra, you talked before about businesses have impact, and it's up to them whether they want to make it good or bad. Do you know what I mean? So I just think any business can have a good impact, because you will have an impact anyway.
Definitely. And business, I remember I did the School of Social Entrepreneurs in Blackburn House with Lisa, and I remember somebody talking about not-for-profit business, and the guy who was doing our lecture, excuse me, he went, not-for-profit, he said, every business should be for profit.
Yeah.
He said, never mind this not for profit. He said, every business, it's what you do with the profit.
Yeah.
And that's where the social impact. So a social impact is, I spend my £1, and then that £1 will benefit somebody else along the line and stuff like that. So the massive social impact for me is massive. And it doesn't have to be a financial impact. It can be something, you've supported. So I supported a young person who came to one of my sessions, who then went into school the next day. And he went into school without kicking and screaming. So the social impact of that was that his mum had a boss day because she wasn't waiting for the phone to ring. His teachers did. The other kids in the class, his brothers and sisters were okay, because so sometimes it's not like a monetary value. It can also be like, an emotional value or something like that. So it's like that little ripple effect of somebody doing a kind thing, isn't it, going on?
Helen, I've just got to give a shout out to my brother. So I've got a half brother and sister, and I've got another half brother somewhere. It's just, I will explain that bit.
I'm your mate, don't worry. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few more as well. But my brother Liam, he works in Harmony School, and a couple of weeks ago he showed me a thank you note from someone he'd supported. He's a PE teacher there, and this lad had said thank you and whatever. And we just sat there and we talked about the impact of diverting that kid away from crime. But that kid's now a youth worker and working with others. And, it blew our minds, kind of thing. And it's just like the act of helping someone and changing the course of someone's life. And now he's gone on to do the same. And how many kids that's going to impact as well. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, massively. And it's that, it's that positive role model who's gone in, made that change. So people go, oh, well, that's dead good, that because he's now not going to go. But then you've got to think of like the impact on the NHS, the impact on the police, the impact on the local communities. It's like that ripple effect of, and hopefully he's now going to have that massive positive influence on all of the young people who he goes and speaks to, because he's got the same story as them. So he can say, listen, this is what's happened to me.
They can identify with him, and he can explain he was not going on the wrong path, etc.
Definitely. So Leon's put a bit of it. I'm going to read it out because it's a lovely paragraph. Thank you, Leon. So Leon says, Joanne is such a shining example with their selfless thoughts on social business, coupled with a keen eye for making sure they actually are profitable, while still ensuring fairness to everyone in society. Being a really great mentor for me, and I'll always be in her debt. Great guest, and I hope loads of people reach out to help her brilliant work.
So how can people reach out to you, Joanne?
Well, let me just say a thing about Leon. I met Leon, and he was annoying me because I was at a networking event. He was sitting next to me eating, I was like, he's eating chips there, sitting next to me. Anyway, he said he wanted to go on, he wants to work with a homeless charity. And so I helped him get on the boards. This homeless charity I was on, and then I left. So now Leon is well and truly been supporting Emmaus in Seaforth for a number of years now.
For a long time, hasn't he? Yeah.
But blames me for it.
Yeah.
Yes. I delivered, but they're lovely words, and he is a good guy, Leon, really good guy.
He's known him for a long time, for years. He's just ace, very kind person.
So how can people get involved, Jo, and how can they help you?
So, you know, in terms of this investment pot and a make-believe social trading organisation, and, you know, you want to get involved, the social investments in the region is an organisation called Kindred. I don't work for Kindred, but that's, you know, if you want to get involved with Kindred. I think it's a dash and then LCR. The Black Social Traders Network, again, that's now, you know, obviously I set it up, but that belongs to Kindred as well. And as I say, I don't work for them, but if you want to get in touch with me, LinkedIn's probably the best way to contact me. You know, Twitter is just vile, isn't it, at times? But I've managed throughout my whole mayorship being able to keep me LinkedIn page positive, and I love that. I love that. You know, it's a professional space. I'm kind of social media starting to get on my nerves a little bit, and I love that LinkedIn. You know, you can find interesting things what people are doing in the job, and you know, I'm probably showing my age, but LinkedIn's the best place to get in touch with me.
Definitely brilliant. I love it.
Cool.
So please get in touch then via LinkedIn to Joanne. She's got, you know, she's doing amazing things in our city. I want to say a massive thank you, Joanne, for bringing so many exciting things to our city and for being that representative of what we all believe. It's really lovely for somebody to stand up and be in your corner. And I think before you said, you know, everyone will have each other's backs and we'll throw a good party.
Yeah.
And I definitely think in those 2 years, you massively did that for us.
We're going out. She said, get out. And I was like, it was just brilliant.
You know what? Considering I'm not a Eurovision fan, I can't say that, Bernice. It was absolutely wonderful out in the city. And though, you know, Turin done one event and we done 8. And, you know, it was a really special moment for me. It was my son's birthday. I think he'd been working the day before. He was home from London. And we just walked onto the, you know, onto the waterfront. And there was some Ukrainian rave on that we were both into. And then looking up over the liver birds with the sky going into evening. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the vibe around the city was just amazing. Amazing.
I think Sandra and I, we had a little walk, didn't we, Sandra? And I think the vibe in the city was amazing. And my mum and all her mates, so the Golden Girls were all out, and they were like interviewed by Radio Merseyside because they were in that bus stop, which is one of the best photographs ever. And everyone was like going over and talking to them, and they were like talking to them. And it was just like amazing vibes in the city because everyone was just loving life, weren't they? You know, it was brilliant. So, Sandra, I believe you've got a belter for us. It is now our red face moment.
Okay, I'm going to go.
People only tune in, Joanne, to hear Sandra's red face.
This is my life, Joanne, honest to God. Right, so last week I got a new client on Tuesday. I taught her just before the show, lovely lady over the water, taught her on Zoom. We're doing Spanish, and in between each thing, because I've got like an image, so when we discuss what she's just learned, she can't see it because we're doing it from memory and stuff like that. And I've got a big picture of hams and stuff, and she goes, oh my God, she goes, I'm terribly sorry, that's a trigger for me. I'm a strict vegan or strict vegetarian. And she goes, it gets worse. She goes, when it was 3, she said, my dad used to work in the abattoir. Me dad had a string of butchers, my granddad. And I went in and they slit a pig's throat and everything. She said, oh, it's terrible. And she went into great detail. And I said, I'm terribly sorry like that. Anyway, she carried on, bookstore lessons, great. So I thought, I'll be dead clever. I'll move that from the PowerPoint. Got that off, did put a metro sign instead, whatever. Why I said this, I've no idea. So I'm giving the example and I'm saying, say someone recommends a restaurant in your road. You might want to put the phone number down in Spanish. So we're there practicing it. And I said, so they might know what was, I just said it was She goes. They might remember the name, but they might say, you know, it's the one with the pig on the front, with a big picture of a front. And she went, ah! And I was like, oh no.
I try not to mention the war, that one.
That's what happened. It was so scary. And I removed all these big pictures. I'd removed all the pictures. And I said, you know, and you might just say, like, the restaurant, you know, it's got a big picture of a pig on the front, like that. Like, what and I have been vegan. What possessed me, I've no idea. I was just like, oh my God.
I know that you were buzzing off yourself of how excited you were that you'd taken all the slides and you were dead proud, and then you throw in that belter.
I get
So
the
managed
best.
to trigger
I'm
it anyway.
considered a teacher ever. I think of my clients, I'm this and that, and then said the pig on the front. Oh, it was, and she was like, again, so she's not connected with me on social media. Honest to God, horrendous. So, Joanne's is well better.
It is. I'm lucky this week. I'm going to pass because I'm okay. Go on, Joanne, it's yours.
Well, I thought another one as you said that, but I think this one is funny. So when we were 14 and we used to bunk off school a lot, and you could back in the day because your parents didn't go to jail for it.
But, one in Walton Road, yeah.
What was that?
We got the 81 bus in there.
Yeah. Well, there was this lad who'd been in care, so he was about 16 now, and he had his own flat, so we were all bunking off in his flat, but when the caretaker come round, we really didn't want us to be caught because like he was in care, and the punishment was kind of severe for him. We didn't want him to go back in a home. So we all jumped out the window when this caretaker was coming round. It's in Liverpool 8 where I live now. So these railings, we all jumped over the railings to get away. Anyway, back in the day, remember Ethel Austin? I had these pair of belly warmers on that were huge. But I remember as I jumped over the rail and my belly warmer knickers got caught. I'm about 14, but I'm 6 foot tall. And I'm dangling from the railings with just showing all my knickers with my skirt all bunched up. Dangling from the railings as the bus goes past. And it was the 81, but no, it was the 81 bus. Can't remember what the bus was. Absolutely mortified, and the more my mates are just falling about the floor laughing, obviously, because they can't, you know what I mean, the more I'm trying to get off, and I'd have to go up and down to get off, do you know what I mean, or rip the knickers off me, like there wasn't much choice of how I was getting away, and we're howling, but we're being chased in our minds, and absolutely horrified. But now that I've moved to Liverpool Ace and I go past the railings all the time, I just keep having flashbacks all the time from hanging from that railing in my knickers, and I don't think I've wore belly warmers as big ever since. I think I ended up with a hate relationship with belly warmers.
I was going to say that's going to be your trigger.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that's excellent. I love that.
Yeah, but mine are weekly.
Brilliant. Shout out to the grown-ups, any grown-ups who've done amazing things. I'm going to go first.
Go on.
We've already mentioned that. So Katarina Johnson-Thompson, who, you know, she's won another gold heptathlete. Unbelievable she is. She's and she's had a few knockbacks, you know, a few injuries and things, and she's come back and she's won gold again. So massive big shout out to her, and a massive shout out to Alex Greenwood, who's one of our lionesses. She's from Bootle, and didn't win on Sunday, but what an absolute phenomenal run they had. What they're doing for women's sport is unbelievable. And Jill Scott had a beautiful thing, and she said there's going to be little girls asking for football boots, and they're going to get them. So massive positive role models. I was gutted for them, but you know, there's always got to be a winner and a loser. But I'm massively, even though they didn't win the trophy and bring it home, the massive winners for what they're doing for women's sport. Unbelievable. So they're my shout outs. And then I want to give a massive shout out to my dad, who has made me, I'm going to just lift this up like this.
He's so clever, Dad.
My dad's doing wood turning, and he's made me a lamp, which I shared on my social medias. And he made me a vase. He's unbelievable. And he made this pen. He made me that pen as well. I'm just surrounded by things that my dad's made.
That one he got me for Christmas, Joanne.
No one else in the world has got one of them.
Do you know what? Last time my dad fixed something was with a hammer. You don't fix things with hammers, do you? And I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah. So they're my shout outs. What about you, Sam?
So I didn't sort of include my GCSE kids with the shout out before. I just sort of had the little ones. But my A-level people, I mean, because they're all 18. So I had 3 students for A-level. Every one of them got A to C grade, who were tutored French and Spanish. So it's absolutely over the moon. And they haven't half worked hard. And the languages were hard this year. It was like 80% upwards to get an A grade, which is really hard. And, you know, it was 58% to get an A in maths, because it's movable. So, you know, they just make them, it seems to be harder, the languages each year again. And I feel very sorry for people. And they'd worked so hard, the kids, and 2 of them were disappointed. One got one with a B and one got a C, and they wanted an A and a B, but it was all okay, and they got the places at uni, but they did very, very well. And I was delighted with the results, so that was that.
So was on kids at that age, isn't it? And the pressure on them, and
Nowadays,
how little you think about A-level results, and once 3 or 4 years past.
I said to her, do you think anybody ever? I'm doing consultancy work for school at the moment. I said, do you think I've had to show a piece of paper? You once wanted to see an A-level and that, but no. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Who's your shout out to, Joanne? Any grown-ups?
Yeah, so Michelle Charters, who runs Cumber Amani, she's a trustee of National Museums Liverpool, and she's been working on kinds of promoting the new slavery, the International Slavery Museum, the extension that's happening. And she drags me out. I don't do slavery. I know that sounds weird and a very strange thing to say, but because I've worked around equality and race equality for years, if I talk about slavery, that's another aspect. But the reason I don't talk about slavery, I find it really upsetting, anything to do with it, So I don't get involved in it much, and people ask me to do talks and I go, look, I don't talk about slavery, or I don't talk about colonialism, and I don't talk about any of that. But Michelle's been a fantastic ambassador for our city, and just is so passionate, and is this is on top of a day job. She volunteers for NML, and as a board member, and the work that she's been involved in, as well as others, in bringing that kind of the attention around not just the UK but the world, around the plans around the International Slavery Museum and the extension of it. It is the only one in the country. It is phenomenal that we've got it here. Our place in history around Liverpool Street. I didn't really understand it till Laura Pye, who's the director at NML, explains it the other day. Like places like Bristol and that benefited from the slave trade, but they were already established. Liverpool was literally a fishing village, and so when they say built off the back of slavery, we were nowhere till we had the slave trade. So she must get emotional and upset all the time the same way I do, but she sticks with it and promotes it, and so passionate about it. So I've just been, it's Slavery Remembrance Day tomorrow. I've just been to a lecture with her tonight, but again, just an ambassador of the city doing a wonderful job.
Brilliant. Well done. Nick thinks that Joanne, your red face was boss. I was with Nick today. I had a coffee with Nick today.
Which red face?
That was as well. Yeah.
Your story with the knickers on there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Book podcast that you're listening to, Sam?
Okay, so I've just finished The Compound Effect. Absolutely brilliant. Now I'm on to that, and I've got the recommendation from yourself. Now I put the Diary of a CEOs on my waiting list, and then another guy sent me something today, 48 Power or something it's called. So I've got a waiting list now. I've got them stacked, so I'm excited about that. What about
you, Joanne? What you're listening to or what you're reading?
I don't listen to podcasts too much, in the sense that I have to be driving somewhere. I'm a bit of an activist, so I can't just listen to a podcast, and I don't go on. I do a bit more now that I'm not me, but I don't go on long journeys, but I love a podcast on a long journey. I loved that, what was it, the guy in America who'd been, that famous podcast, the American one, where he'd been accused of killing somebody. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. That was fantastic. Aidan, I think his name was. It's ended up a TV series, but that was when podcasts first come out. I'm reading The Psychology of Money.
And I've heard about that.
Yeah, I've got a really bad relationship with money on a personal level. I earn a lot of it, but I'll never be wealthy because I'm good at making money. I'm not good at keeping money. And so I'd like to be a little bit different. Seeing as I've got to 52 and I've got no pension and things like that, I think I need to get a bit more serious about keeping money. I can keep getting parcels delivered and buying a lot of nonsense, or I might be able to retire at some reasonable age.
Yeah. I've seen that one. That's on my list. Look what arrived today.
What does it say? Destination NC 500. What does that mean?
Scotland
500. My vision is to have a camper van and live my life in a camper van. So that's the Scotland 500, and you do the tour. So I thought, right, I'm living and breathing it. I've got the book, and it just tells you all about it.
It all helps with the manifestation and visualizations,
doesn't it? We're all into that.
I'm on it. I've got like a Lego camper van. I'm hoping that if I plant it, it'll grow into a real one.
If I get my little keyboard, that's all, that everything complete. because I can't put a piano in, but like a stand-up one. Then I'm complete. There's nothing in it.
Right. Thank you massively, Joanne, for coming on. You've been an amazing guest. You've shared so much with us, including your boss red face. I think that'll be one of
shared more than I want to, I think.
So do you have a mantra or something that you live by to close the show with?
I do, because I can never remember it, so I had to put it on my phone. Now, I call it the alcoholic's prayer, and it's not the alcoholic's prayer, it's called the serenity prayer. But grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that really helped me when I was mayor, to say, have I got influence over this? Can I change this? And to let things go that I can't change, and to take action on those I could change and influence. And, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. It's not why I've got the prayer, but it's just, I just think it's a really good way to try and let go of the stuff, not sweat the small stuff.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much. Massive thank you to you, San, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Helen.